I just want to speak directly to the president, which is that I will not be a mayor like Mayor Adams who will call you to figure out how to stay out of jail. I won't be a disgraced governor like Andrew Cuomo who will call you to ask how to win this election. I can do those things on my own. I will, however, be a mayor who is ready to speak at any time to lower the cost of living. That's the way that I'm going to lead this city. That's the partnership I want to build, not only with Washington, D.C., but anyone across this country.
One of the small bright spots in politics right now is Zohran Mamdani and what he's doing currently right now in New York with this grassroots momentum that he is building and has built from the primary, starting at very low, people thinking that he had no chance to looking extremely competitive, like he most likely could win this election in New York City, which could mean a very big shift. I'm hoping for the Democrat Party if they can find how to use his message of affordability to reach the everyday person that they're losing. Now, before we continue to dive into this, y'all, we're trying to get to 250 subscribers. We're at like 194, I believe, right now, as of this video. So if you don't mind subscribing, liking, sharing this content with somebody else who might be willing to join this community of like-minded people that like to talk about politics, now let's jump right into this video.
On to New York. You want to be the mayor of New York City, which, you know, last night I chat GPT'd, where is the capitalist and global finance center of the world? And it said New York City, which made me feel good as someone who loves New York City. Is that a moniker that you're proud of and one that you want to continue for this city?
We should be proud of it, and I will also say that that's one thing you have in common with Andrew Cuomo, because he also uses ChatGPT to answer many questions, including how to actually resolve the housing crisis in this city. And
right. Y'all, did y'all catch that little bit of shade that he threw at her at the end? Like, you really had to ChatGPT that New York City was the world finance capital of the world? Like, who does not know this? I digress. Let's keep on going, y'all.
It's time that we are not only proud of us being the financial capital, the cultural capital, but also we should make it a capital of where working people can afford to live in this city. Because right now what we're seeing is that 1 in 4 New Yorkers are being priced out of the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world.
That's absolutely true. One of the things that's also true is that JP Morgan and Goldman Sachs have moved major operations to Texas. They've not abandoned New York, but they're hedging their bets on New York because of the increased taxes that they see coming if you become mayor. So when they do that, jobs move out of the city as well. So how does that help affordability if people in the city don't have the jobs that they once had here?
Well, I'm looking to make this a city that every person chooses, whether they're a business leader or they're someone who works for that business. And the key ways of doing that are actually delivering quality of life, public safety, and affordability for each and every person. Because what we're seeing right now is we have a broken status quo. We have a corrupt political system, and we have the politicians that sustain that. That's really what's on the ballot, is whether New Yorkers want to continue that or whether they actually want a city they can afford. That's what I'm going to deliver.
So, Governor Hochul, you would have to get approval from the legislature to raise individual taxes, income taxes, and also corporate taxes in New York, which you've said you would like to do in order to pay for the free buses and the free childcare and the different programs, the government grocery stores and the like. She says no new taxes in her governor's race. So what are you going to do if she won't allow taxes to be raised? How will you pay for these programs?
You know, I've said time and again that I believe these are the most straightforward ways that we can actually fund universal childcare, making buses fast and free. Mm-hmm. And I've said that the 2 clear ways to do so, raising personal income taxes on the top 1% by 2%, and raising the corporate tax to match that of New Jersey's corporate tax of 11.5%. Now, if there are other ways to raise this money to fund this agenda, the most important thing is that we fund the agenda. I still think that these are the most important and clear ways we can do it. And I'm thankful to have Governor Hochul's support in this race, and the fact that she said we have a shared commitment to delivering universal childcare for New Yorkers across the city and the state.
I think that's great. I think everybody would love to have free health care and free buses and all these things. But the question is, how do you pay for it? The city's already in debt. The governor says no to new taxes. Like Margaret Thatcher said, you know, socialism's great until you run out of everyone else's money, other people's money.
Well, what Andrew Cuomo said is that if he had $959 million, he'd give it to Elon Musk in tax credits, because that's exactly what he did. And I bring that up to you to say that it's often a question of whether you have the willingness to spend that money to benefit working class people, not where that money is in the first place.
So what would you cut?
Love what he just said right there, because it's about the willingness. Do you have the willingness to actually work for the American people, work for the everyday American? In New York City, it is unsustainable for somebody to go and live there and have a 1 bed, 1 bath, and it costs them $4,000. It's unsustainable to buy a bottle of water and it be $7. It's unsustainable. You can't live like that. How can somebody who's going to pick up the trash live in New York City? How is the person who's going to be the McDonald's worker who's going to live in New York City? How is the person who's going to be the one putting the clothes on the shelves in the Targets and the Walmarts going to be able to live in New York City? It's unsustainable. You can't live like that. How can a teacher live there? How can people that are firefighters and police officers live there? It's not sustainable. If you're always going to be worried about what the top 1% is doing and they're not giving enough money to fund this city, that is making them rich. Because mind you, without the people that are doing all these menial jobs that they don't pay attention to, you would not be able to get to where you are. And I'm glad that he's trying to be creative in this way because, like he said, it's the political will. Who has the will to do what is necessary? Even if it makes those that are the elites, because we all know that in the Democrat Party, we have these donor elites that feel like what they say needs to be what needs to happen. We saw that in the last election when they pushed Joe Biden out because they feel like, well, I'm giving money. So since I'm giving money, I should have more say. We see this in Elon Musk with, oh, well, I gave $250 million to Donald Trump. Now I have a department Doge. Or we see all these technocrats that were at Donald Trump's inauguration. We need to stop worrying about what these people that are making the top of the top is making. Less than 1% of America, because guess what? 99% of us, we're struggling. Borrowing from Peter to pay Paul. If you understand, that can get around to you. Well, let's keep on listening, y'all.
What would you draw from to do it?
I don't think we have to cut. I've spoken about raising taxes on the wealthiest. And frankly, this is an issue that we have here in New York City, and frankly, even across this country. When I've spoken to Trump voters right here in New York City, Hillside Avenue in Queens, Fordham Road in the Bronx, they've told me it was cost of living that drove them to vote for Donald Trump. They've told me it was a promise of a lower actual, whether it be cheaper groceries, whether it be childcare, whether it be rent.
Right.
And what we're seeing time and time again is we're more focused on the question of billionaires and the most profitable corporations than we are on people who can't even afford to make ends meet in this city.
Well, we
And it's very important that he drew this contrast because in New York City, they had Mayor Adams that was literally capitulating to Donald Trump because he wanted to get his charges dropped. And he did not want them to be brought up on him again. This is Zohran Mamdani saying, I'm not going to capitulate. I'm trying to draw me a contrast. These people, I went and talked to Trump voters. These voters said they voted for him because they said New York City was unsustainable. It is unaffordable. He's trying to get these voters to come back and vote for him. Why? Because he's actually going to tackle that issue. He's touching people exactly where they're feeling the most hurt in their pocketbooks. But let's keep on listening.
know affordability is an issue. And I think that all politicians are getting to an understanding of that. And I think that you've done a lot, actually, to bring people's attention to that issue. Let's take a look at the free buses issue just for a moment, because I know you said that the pilot project that you did was one of the biggest accomplishments of being an assemblyman. The Washington Post said this in an editorial about this. Quality inevitably declines when a service is offered for free. Vagrants and drug addicts would camp out all day on New York's buses, especially in the winter. Parents would go afraid to let their children ride alone. Wealthier residents would find another way to get around, but poor New Yorkers who depend on the bus would suffer the most. What do you say to that? Do you agree with that?
Well, I would say that they should actually look at the report of the 5 free buses we delivered across New York City. We didn't see an increase in homelessness. We did see an increase in New Yorkers riding the bus. We did see a decrease in assaults on bus drivers by 38.9%. And we also saw a decrease in New Yorkers who were having to take a cab or take their own car. They were actually getting on the bus. More than 10% of new riders were doing so. That's why we care so deeply about this, because of the fact that it can actually deliver economic, public safety, and even congestion relief to New Yorkers who are looking to take these buses.
Now, this was really important what he did, because first of all, we all saw that they had an opinion from the Washington Post. An opinion. Not something that was factual made by a journalist. They had an opinion put up, and they asked him about it. He had the facts, because on Fox News, if you don't have the facts, everybody's just going to be talking in an alternate reality. And he was like, no, I don't think you've actually looked at the bus pilot we did. These are the statistics. These are the facts. And all she could do was say, yeah. Pivot to the next question. Which is what I'm saying, like, Zohran Mamdani is this bright spot in politics right now, especially for the Democrat Party. And I understand why we're not grabbing onto him a little bit stronger. Like, I see that there are some politicians that are trying to go ahead and use this method, and they have been seeing some success in their individual races. But, like, come on, Democrats. The midterms is coming up soon. We have these elections that are coming this November. We have to be laying the groundwork, especially when we already see that the Supreme Court is trying to find ways to give Donald Trump a win, possibly getting 19 potentially minority votes. We have to find a new way of messaging and getting out the vote, getting out turnout in a way that nobody has ever seen before. And Zohran Mamdani was able to do that in New York City. A Democratic stronghold, he was able to make it appears maybe even stronger. Is that possible? Let's keep on listening.
You're turning 34 on Saturday, and I want to talk about your qualifications. Some say you have never run a business in your life, so I'm curious. And President Trump said that you never worked a day in your life. You've worked as an assemblyman, and you've had other positions in the government. But what qualifies you from your life experience to run the largest city in the country?
I want to take this moment because you spoke about President Trump, and he may be watching right now. And I just want to speak directly to the president, which is that I will not be a mayor like Mayor Adams who will call you to figure out how to stay out of jail. I won't be a disgraced governor like Andrew Cuomo who will call you to ask how to win this election. I can do those things on my own. I will, however, be a mayor who's ready to speak at any time to lower the cost of living. That's the way that I'm going to lead this city. That's the partnership I want to build, not only with Washington, D.C., but anyone across this country. I think it's important because too often the focus on the needs of working class Americans, working class New Yorkers are put to the side as we talk more and more about the very kinds of corrupt politicians like Andrew Cuomo that delivered us into this kind of crisis.
Now we're going to stop there with this interview because it's long. It's really good. I hope y'all listen to it and watch it and find it on your own. It's on YouTube. It's on Twitter. I've seen it in multiple areas, which is why I was like, I want to do a reaction to it. But y'all, tell me that response was not good. He told Donald Trump directly, I don't need your help with any kind of charges. I don't need your help with you doing anything undue well with me. I don't need any of that. All I need for you to do is to work with me to make sure that the U.S. citizens here in New York City are able to live a good, thriving life as promised in the Constitution and the preamble. That is all I'm trying to do. That is all I'm trying to do. Y'all tell me what y'all think about all this in the comments. Remember, we're trying to get to 250 subscribers before the end of this month is possible. I don't know. Is that a little ambitious? I don't know. We're at 194. Y'all tell me in the comments. If y'all enjoy this content, please let me know. I listen to all the comments. I try to respond. I comment. Please don't leave me over here shouting in the void by myself. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.